Guys, it's Eric here from Dronelink, and I've got an exciting thing I want to show you here today, and this is really all about the evolution of the rising orbit or the corkscrew effect that has gone through a few changes, and you guys are going to be blown away by what we've got right now. So if you look at the screen right now, this was the way that it was originally rolled out, the way that, again, taking a normal orbit, and this was actually cool enough that it could rise up very, very easily. And you can see it over here, what the effect that this thing created. And this is basically being done with only a few clicks. You put in an initial altitude, you put a final altitude in, you put in the circumference for the orbit component as to how high, how many rotations you want it to go through, and it just automatically spat out that effect. Now, the only problem with this effect in this way was that when you previewed it, the orbit always looked to the base. If you kind of look at this thing, it's always looking at the base of the orbit. And what people really wanted was something that looked forward, so it really kind of gave the effect of going up through the orbit more. So in steps one of our ambassadors, Greg Parker, who did this version of it, which is less of an orbit and more of a path. But basically, what he did here is he created a path with 12 waypoints around the center of the thing, and then just had it all and had point of interest set to change as you kind of marched around. And this basically gave you that look. It's just a little bit more complicated to put together. So again, if you look at the preview of this thing, again, this was pretty close. This allowed, if you watch the preview on the right-hand side, it's doing it. It's going around in the orbit, and it's kind of looking to the center. I was a little off center, but it's pretty good. It was giving that look that, and he only had it going up, but this is only kind of 1.5 rotations in the one he had done. It would have been a lot harder for him to do if he was doing more, but he did 1.5 rotations around this tower. So in steps a second one of our ambassadors, Eric, who kind of took this to the next level. He created a corkscrew effect, one for the Inspire, one for the Mavic, and he kind of followed Eric's path around a little bit, but it's similar. Create a destination point initially, and then a path with 12 waypoints around. And again, he got a very similar look that as a component that was very transportable. That you could take this component. His goal was to make it something that he could easily drag and drop into another mission, and he did. This was actually a pretty useful component. So he's got it going 3.5 times around this little orbit. And again, this is a standalone component using paths to create this thing. All right, guys, ready for this? So I've been having conversations with Jim about trying to find ways to, I'm actually working on the orbit video here a little bit on the side. I wanted to have something that was kind of bring it to the next level. He and I were brainstorming on this thing, and bang, we've got a new feature. Well, watch how fast this thing works. And this is just to be clear, this is a ridiculous mission that we created just for preview sake. I wouldn't recommend you fly this thing, but if you look at this kind of recognizable location right here, we've got an initial altitude of 300 feet rising up to an altitude of 2,800 feet, 3,600 degrees, so basically 10 orbits around, okay? But this is the key thing you want to see, this gimbal orientation. So if you set this thing to negative 49 degrees, this is the pitch. So if you delete this, it kind of goes back to the way it was before with looking straight down at the center. But with this, it overrides that, and now it'll look either, you could have it look straight down, you could look straight forward, you can have it look a little bit down, look a little bit up. So watch this as a starting point, okay? So now let's generate the preview of this bad boy. And I'm gonna blow you away twice on this thing, so I'm gonna show it to you first in the previewer. There it is, 12 orbits around, but the key thing here is that unlike it looking to the center, it is looking forward now, or actually looking a little bit down. And you can actually see this if you play it. So I'm going to play this orbit in the previewer. And if you look at it, now the problem here, and we all know this, and we're talking consistently about trying to ways to improve the view of it in the previewer. But it is looking now 49 degrees down instead of looking all the way down. So I can change this however I want. Now, I don't know if you guys saw the video that we released quickly showing the Google Earth preview, and this is where things get out of control. So let's take this, and I'm going to click this little button over here as export to Google Earth. I'm going to export it to Google Earth. it creates a KMZ file. Actually, I've done this before. I'm going to take this, I'm going to open it up. Boom. Now I'm in Google Earth. How's that look? All right. There's our mission right there. Now I'm going to jump forward here to a little higher in the tower so you can actually see it going up. But as you can see, it's now rotating around the tower, this crazy tower, looking 49 degrees straight down. This is amazing stuff, guys. So hey, before I forget, I almost closed out this video and I wanted to include one other thing that I forgot to cover. So it's this drone heading capability. I just want to make sure you're aware of it too. So again, if I take this drone heading by default, it's 90 degrees in relation to path, or you can do it in relation to north, but I think the path is more interesting. So 90 degrees to path when you're going clockwise, right? So if you're going 90 degrees to the right, it's path. That's going to be pointing to the center. But if you take this thing, first of all, and you do 0 degrees, or you do 180 degrees, or you do more interesting, I think it's 270 degrees, because 270 degrees, that would be a direct pointing out from the orbit. So now let's just run the preview on this real fast. We take the preview on this. The drone now is facing outward. It's not facing inward. And again, you can still have the orientation looking forward, but like again, it's now looking straight out from the tower. And again, just like before, I could send this thing over to Google Earth. So that's pointed outward. And again, just using that orientation, you can actually have it go in the path of the orbit or pointing backward from it. So what eventually will come here, it's on its way, is we'll talk eventually about having focus points and some other things. But this is, I know people have been wanting this. I'm excited about it. Just wanted to bring it out to make you guys aware that it's there. Bye.